I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. You guys are looking amazing. Actually, absolutely amazing. There will be somebody to tell you more about the movie just a short while. I'm just up here to remind you, if you brought handbags to donate to rape victims, the handbag donation table is right in front of you here.
And I looked at some online reputation management tools on Friday, and already on the online discussions we've already generated more than R1.5 million rands worth of publicity for this cause, okay? And that's just online, okay? And that's not to do with what we had on radio and what's happened on TV already. So whatever goes on from here, I think we've already made a difference. So everybody, please applaud yourselves for doing so well. Thank you. And then we're going to have a whole series of quite short discussions, and the very first of those will be by Sass, Sandy Schultz, who was the person whose kind of inspiration got us here in the first place. Sass is an actress, and she's now trying to get people to keep quiet in the back. Sass, over to you.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Slutwalk+Johannesburg. My name is Sandy Schultz, also known as Sass, and I am the person who was crazy enough to initiate this day. You know what? I thought this was too important, so I wrote it all down, and I'm going to read it. So this day has been months in the planning, and I cannot tell you how happy I am that today has finally arrived. Though I have to say, I wish we didn't have to be here. I wish we didn't need a Slutwalk Johannesburg. I wish we didn't need marches protesting sexual violence, marches that need to point out that there's never an excuse, that no one by definition ever deserves or asks to be raped, that rapists rape people, not outfits. When I first heard about that ignorant comment that women should not dress like sluts so that they don't get victimized, I had a visceral reaction. I happen to know from experience that what one wears has absolutely nothing to do with getting assaulted. What I'm wearing is the closest approximation I could find of what I was wearing when I got raped. Does this outfit really scream, rape me? The reality is that rape is about violence. And a short skirt or too many drinks at the bar or a checkered sexual history or choosing a same-sex partner is never an excuse for assault. The statistics are staggering. I won't get into them because Jen Thorpe will be talking about them later, but I will say that there are too many of us. You might see numbers on a page, but behind every number is a face and a name and a shattering experience that takes years and a strength that you cannot imagine to overcome. I call us survivors the society of the secret handshake, the handshake that says, I know you, I am you, and there are way too many of us. When we first started organizing Slutwalk Johannesburg, I felt that reclaiming the word slut wasn't necessarily relevant to us here in South Africa. Addressing the issues of sexual violence that permeate the very heritage of our land seemed much more important. However, words are important. Words are powerful things. We can wield them to wound, or we can rally them to right age-old wrongs. And just recently, I remembered something that, hang on a second, made me rethink the reclaiming of the word slut. So I'm going to tell you a little story. When I lived in the States, I hadn't been home in a long time, and I landed up in Malta, and there I met a South African pilot. I was so excited to meet up with someone from home and to feel a connection with Africa. But then one day we encountered each other and he said, "Dasi klonkie." Now, for those of you who don't know, klonkie is a derogatory term used for someone classified colored. I couldn't believe what I just heard. I was outraged. I didn't say anything in the moment, but I wrote a letter and I left it at the hotel desk so that he would know just how offended I was. However, when I moved back to South Africa and I had to name my company, I remembered that encounter. And I wound up calling my company Klonkie Made Media, because some people might think that someone who looks like me should be the klonkie made in the kitchen. But look at what this klonkie can do. Just look at what this klonkie has made and can make possible. And so I reclaimed what was a thoughtless insult and used it in a way that I felt validated me. Now, I still might not necessarily want to call myself a slut, but it has made me rethink the value of reclaiming the word. Think of the word queer. Think of the word nerd. Though, what is a slut in any case? My first reaction when I heard that stupid comment was, hell no, I ain't no slut. But if you follow the logic of the statement, women shouldn't dress like sluts so that they're not victimized, I was raped, so therefore I must be a slut. Now, ironically, I felt lucky that I was wearing my baby blue PJs and was in my own bed in the middle of the night when I got raped, because it made it absolutely clear that I wasn't at fault. However, what if I wasn't wearing my baby blues? I was wearing this instead? Would this outfit make it my fault? Because, you know, there are times when I do dress like this. Would the logic of that statement make it okay for someone to violate me? You know, we live in an age of media and advertising. We all want to look good. We all want to feel confident, to know that we can turn heads. However, our society seems to be at a point where the necessary education and guidance isn't happening at home or at school. Our children are not being taught essential lessons about respect and consent. When I used to go to the Burning Man Festival in the Nevada desert in America, the only rule in that temporary society was, whatever you do that involves someone else, ask them first. First, get their consent. Maybe that's a lesson that we need to carry over into the larger society. Whatever you do involving someone else, first get their consent. Maybe then we wouldn't need a slut walk in Johannesburg. Maybe then my short skirt can be about the fabulous weather we've stayed away today. And not an unspoken invitation to unimagined horrors. I initiated Slutwalk+Johannesburg because I've been a firm advocate for survivors' rights and for the need to break the silence, to realize that the survivor is never at fault. But I sincerely hope that there will come a time that slut walks and protest marches are obsolete. A time when consent is queen, and yes means yes, and real men and women, honorable people, the kind of people we would like to believe we are, can respect that no means no. My dress is not a yes. I'll see you in the march.
Thanks, Fanny. Our next speaker will be Julian. Julian Schutte is a filmmaker, and in fact this is her camera here, is it? Julian, over to you.
Who at the beginning of this year would have imagined that hundreds of people would be gathered at the Zoo Lake under the banner of the word slut? When that policeman in Toronto thought it was okay to tell women that they should avoid dressing like sluts in order not to be victimized, I don't think he had any idea that that would spark enough anger in the feminine to start a feminine revolution right around the world. The word slut is packed with the power of centuries of oppressed feminine libido. I caution those who want to take on the word, because they will be faced with a power that this world has never before recognized. We are seizing back the right to be ourselves, strong, joyous, and sexual beings. We refuse to be shamed or controlled by the word slut or any other word that seeks to destroy our humanity. We will no longer be silenced. Women are building up their revolutionary linguistic arsenal, and we have already reclaimed the words vagina and other words with orgasm, bitch, which we embrace. Now we can add slut to that arsenal. We are reclaiming our bodies back bit by bit. When we have put our bodies back together, and when our bodies belong to us, we will no longer accept the current status quo. We will no longer accept misogynistic discourse in the public sphere, so-called sexist jokes that seek to denigrate and diminutize the feminine. We will no longer be dictated to by a beauty industry premised on women feeling inadequate, not thin, not good, not pretty enough. We will no longer accept abuse, and we will no longer accept rape. We will seize back the public discourse so that our voices and our bodies are heard. We will no longer be spoken for. We will no longer be obedient, passive, sanitized. We will no longer be named and maimed and shamed and then blamed. We will no longer be abused and raped. The world must hear the roar of the slut. She is that raunchy, primal, moist, joyous, autonomous, playful, libidinous being who is taking back her rightful place in the world and demanding the right to be safe. Viva the slut walk!
Yes, go for it.
I know that there are people who aren't here today because they were put off by the word slut, the slut part of Slutwalk. They feel as though this word doesn't represent them, as though the outfits that we see here today are something that they're not personally comfortable with. And I'm here to tell those people that this is not about stepping out of your comfort zone. This is about a woman's right to wear whatever she feels comfortable with, whether that is a headscarf or a burqa or a long dress or a short dress or a short skirt, whatever it is. It's about wearing what you feel comfortable with without victimization, without being blamed, without being made to feel small or less because of your fashion choices. There are those who say that slut is always going to be an ugly word, and perhaps it is. It is a gendered epithet that is used to denigrate women. But to me, it's not so much about turning it into a symbol of power as it is about stripping the word of all power whatsoever. For me, Slutwalk is about stripping that value, that virtuous value away from women, so that we have the right to be promiscuous if we choose, to be virgins if we choose, to be celibate if we choose, and anything in between. Our sexual habits, our sexual choices should not be taken as a reflection of our value as human beings. And until the virgin, the woman who is a virgin, has exactly the same precious human value as the prostitute walking the streets, until that happens, we as women and our sexuality cannot really be free. And for me, that's what Slutwalk is all about.
Absolutely. Thank you very, very much.
Happy Heritage Day. I hope we've got some nice prize planned for later. I'm here to talk a little bit about a less exciting part of our heritage, which is violence and sexual violence. Unfortunately, the country that we've grown up in, that we've been a part of creating, is one where violence against women has become incredibly prevalent. Last year, 60,000 rapes were reported in South Africa, which translates to about 5,000 a month, which is more than all of us standing here today. That number, working at Rape Crisis, I know is very, very much higher than the stats we see. We find that about 1 in 5 survivors actually report their rape, and other organizations say that it is as low as 1 in 9, which means that there are probably 25,000 survivors a month, or 45,000. That's a lot. And that rape doesn't happen out of nowhere. It happens because of myths that are talked about in society, that we encourage when we laugh at jokes about rape or sexual violence. Those myths come out of stories that we tell ourselves that say things like, you shouldn't have been there, you shouldn't have been wearing that. Stories that come from the top that say, she was wearing a kanga, so she must have wanted it. Or stories that come from the top that say, well, she wasn't injured, so it wasn't really rape. Those stories tell women to control their behavior if they don't want to face violence. And those stories tell men that they deserve to have sex with who they want to, regardless of how that person feels. And that there isn't enough time to stop and say, are you okay with this? Those myths are really powerful and they keep our reporting really, really low. But there's another great part of South African heritage, which we can celebrate today, which is we love a bit of a march. We like to walk, we like to toy, we like to get out there and say enough is enough. We, coming here today, are saying that our children will have a heritage that says something different from ours. It will say, no means no. It will say, there is no place for sexual violence in our homes, in our families, in our marriages, in our schools. Our heritage and our kids' heritage will say, I can go where I want to, wear what I'd like to wear, and I don't deserve to be raped. There is no reason to commit violence against me. And our heritage will say to survivors everywhere, it wasn't your fault. You are not in the wrong. And it will say to rapists, watch your back. Our justice system is coming after you, and we're going to get you. I wanted to say something about the word slut. Slut is a word that tells us that our sexuality as women is wrong. That if we like sex, who doesn't, that there must be something wrong with us, that we're dirty, and that we deserve what we get. Slut is a word that we as women, and that as young girls in particular, are told to be afraid of. You kiss too many boys at primary school and suddenly you get a label, and later on you get to varsity and you have sex with one too many people, men or women, and suddenly you've got this name that doesn't want to go away. Today we're here to say that we will call ourselves sluts, and we will not use that name to hold other women down. We will have sex when and with who we want to, however many times a day, and we will hopefully be using protection. We will not be afraid of that name anymore. Viva Slut! Viva!
Hi everyone, is this on? Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm going to keep it short and sweet, like the skirt, because I can see you all want to get onto the streets and march against rape and victim blaming. Thank you very, very, very much. First off to the Slutwalk organizers, Walter, Sandy, Gina, Nadia, Sam. Thank you. These people have not slept in the last 4 months trying to make today happen. And thank you all for coming, the men, the women, the children, dressed in anything that you wanted to be dressed in. I thank you. And just to remind us all, I'm here for the girls who were raped in their miniskirts, for the grandmas who were raped in their pajamas, for the men who were raped walking to the club, for the young boys going to church. And you are all here to say we do not want it anymore. So let's take to the streets. Walter's going to close us off. And thank you again.
Thank you. I'm also here for those kids, but I'm here as well for my daughter who's 14 years old, who I've said, please come and stand next to me. And she showed me a sign that says, no means no. Very clear. I hope that the world that you grow up in can be just a little bit better because of the kind of stuff that we all are doing today. That the walk is going off in that direction. I'm not sure who's leading it. Who's going to lead the walk? The marshals are leading the walk. The walk is going off in that direction. We'll see you here a little bit later. We've got a bit of music. And enjoy yourself. And let's just make our voices heard. Thank you. Go start.
Woo!